UK restaurant chain Miller & Carter offers what they call the steak experience. You get an onion loaf, a crispy deep fried onion, you get some chips, you get a lettuce wedge with the dressing of your choice, you get a tomato that no one cares about, a sprig of lamb's lettuce, and of course you get the steak of your choice, cooked the way you want. Not sponsored, by the way. I really like having this dinner, and I like making versions of it at home, but I did wonder, can you make it in an air fryer? And I thought I'd take you through exactly how I did it, and you too can have the Miller & Carter steak experience at your own home. So first we're starting with the steak itself. This is a piece of ribeye. You could of course use sirloin, rump or whatever. To prepare the steak, give it a generous dusting of salt and leave it for 30 minutes before cooking, uncovered in the fridge. This will be all the seasoning you'll need. My Ninja air fryer came with a probe system whereby you can insert a probe and it will turn off the air fryer automatically when it reaches the right internal temperature. If you don't have this version, and I wouldn't blame you, just make sure you're using a meat thermometer, probing it at regular intervals. But in this Ninja model, I just add the probe and insert it into my meat. And here are potatoes, just floury Maris Piper that I've sliced into chips and leave to soak in water for 20 minutes. This will bleed off the excess starch to help them get crispy at the end. We're going to try and cook everything more or less at the same time. So after they've had 20 minutes soaking, you're going to need to strain these off. Drain off the excess water and then pat them dry. You want these fries after soaking to be as dry as possible, because the first thing the cooking is going to have to do is drive off that water. So you want them as dry as possible before you start. I'm just drying mine on some kitchen roll. Pop them back into a bowl, give them a very good soaking with oil, and then set your air fryer to about 200 degrees and pop them in, and they can be the first thing that gets started. They will take the longest. Now whilst they're cooking, I'm going to set my Ninja air fryer to cook the steak the way I want it. You can see here I can cycle through medium and medium rare and so forth. I'm going for the top end of medium rare for a ribeye to make sure the fat starts to blister. I'll put a temperature chart so you can see what temperature you're looking the internal temperature of your steak to be when you cook it. So that will go on for 10 to 12 minutes. I've got a little break now so I can prepare my iceberg wedge. I'm just doing it for one here, so a little bit of iceberg, my favourite Caesar dressing, and then crumbling over some really punchy blue cheese for a blue cheese dressing. There are loads of other variations. Make sure after about 10 minutes you give your fries a good shake, get them loosened so that they're cooking on all sides. And after about 8 to 9 minutes, my steak is ready to the right temperature. It's not quite got the sear and the colour I would like, but let's give it a try. On to the onion loaf. Now this takes a bit of prep and ideally needs to be done a few hours before. So I'm going to take 2 onions, peel them and slice them into half moons. You can see here I'm not taking a great deal of care about it. It really won't matter in the final product. There's a little weight here. You're going to put them into a bowl, break them up a bit with your fingers, and then add 3 teaspoons of salt. Again, mix thoroughly to combine. You're now going to leave this for about 30 minutes so that they draw the moisture out of the onions and make them a bit easier to work with. Now you want to thoroughly rinse your onions. You want to get rid of all that surface salt. Just flush them under the tap, and a bit like our potatoes, we're then going to drain them off. I'm going to use a muslin cloth here and get them thoroughly drained. Now to make the batter for our onion loaf. This isn't a million miles away from an onion bhaji recipe. So I'm using an egg, some flour, some white pepper and some paprika. You won't need any extra salt here. Your previous salting will make sure it's enough. Give that a really good mix till it's thoroughly combined. Add your drained onions. Try not to drop your cloth in the mixture as I've done here, because that's a nightmare to get out. All the directions, instructions and quantities will be listed below. Give that lot a thoroughly good mix so that everything's coated and there's no mixture left at the bottom. Now, I'm using a very handy baking tray I've got here that has these little individual pockets that I can pop the base out of and adding a little oil. You can use any muffin tray you like, or even just, and then I'm just going to pack in my onion mixture into these individual pan loaves. I didn't buy this specially, it's just one I've got in the cupboard, but it works really well for a single portion of onion loaf at a time. Carry on packing until you've used up all your mixture. Unhelpfully, it's made 5 portions for me. Cover it really well and then leave them in the freezer for at least 2 hours. If you don't, they will break apart during cooking. So here's one I've just made, and I'm going to pop it into the drawer that's had the fries in, and I'm going to leave that to bake for about 10 to 12 minutes. My fries are done now, so I'm adding a mixture of salt and MSG for a lovely lip-smacking flavour. And there's the finished result. I've got my steak, my fries, my little lamb's lettuce, my onion loaf. Now let's cut into it and give it a try. Let's see how it's cooked that steak. It's quite a thin steak in this instance, but you can see there it's nice, loose textured, flaky, still blushing pink inside, so it's done a pretty good job. More importantly, how does it taste? Absolutely delicious. Seasoned to perfection. And of course the chips are lovely and crisp, the onion loaf is crispy. So I hope that showed you how you can get away with making your own Miller & Carter steak experience in your own air fryer. I'm using a Ninja, it should work in any air fryer, but I'd recommend you've got one with 2 compartments so that you can keep the things cooking separately. Good luck!